I see so much fear in growing older, a feeling that our strength, our very self, is slipping away like sand. But this is a misunderstanding. The body is not our enemy. The true secret to rebuilding your foundation, more powerful than you can imagine, is not what you think. Please watch until the end, because the final insight changes everything. Physical decay. We have a relationship with our body that for many of us is built upon a foundation of expectations. When we are young, the body is a vehicle of exploration, of power, of seemingly endless energy. We do not need to think about it. It simply serves us. We run, we lift, we endure, and recovery is a given, a silent promise that is always kept. There is a sense of invincibility, not born from arrogance, but from the simple, lived experience that our physical form is resilient and obedient. But as the seasons of our life change, this relationship is tested. The silent promise of effortless recovery becomes quieter, and eventually it can feel as if it has been broken entirely. This is where the misunderstanding so often begins. The first signs can be subtle. An ache that lingers longer than it used to. A staircase that now requires a conscious breath and a moment of preparation. The jar that will not open, not today. We often dismiss these moments as isolated incidents, anomalies. But then they start to connect, forming a pattern, a narrative. The narrative is one of loss, one of decline, and the most tangible evidence of this narrative is the visible, felt loss of muscle. This isn't just about appearance, it's about capability. It is the loss of the quiet confidence that we can navigate our world with ease. This process, which modern science calls sarcopenia, feels like a betrayal. The body we have known our entire lives is changing, seemingly without our permission. And how do we react to this perceived betrayal? Most often with resistance. We react with a sense of urgency, sometimes even panic. The modern world offers us a map for this resistance. It tells us to fight back, to declare war on aging. We are bombarded with solutions that are framed as weapons. Blast fat, combat muscle loss, fight the signs of aging. This language itself reveals the mindset, one of conflict. So we look for the most powerful weapon. We are told with great authority that protein is the key and that the mightiest, most convenient source is the egg. It is simple, it is known, and it is a symbol of strength. To eat eggs becomes an act of defiance against the decay we fear so deeply. There is nothing inherently wrong with this path, of course. Consuming protein is essential, and an egg is a small marvel of nature's design. But if our action is driven solely by fear, if it is a panicked reaction to a process we despise, then we have already lost the more important battle. We are trying to fix a hardware problem without ever examining the software that is running the entire system, our mind, our intention, our understanding. We become so focused on the grams of protein that we forget to nourish the spirit. We treat the body like a machine in need of repair parts instead of a living, breathing temple that requires a deeper form of communion and care. The question is not, how much protein can I consume? But rather, what is the nature of my relationship with this process of change? This physical decay we experience is not a punishment. It is not an enemy. It is a messenger. It is the physical manifestation of a universal truth that we spend most of our younger years successfully ignoring. The truth of impermanence. Everything changes. The mountain is weathered by the wind, the river carves a new path, and the strong tree eventually returns to the soil. Our bodies are no different. They are part of this grand, inescapable cycle. To fight it is to fight nature itself. It is an exhausting and ultimately fruitless struggle. But what if we were to change the goal? What if the goal was not to win a war against aging, but to learn how to dance with it gracefully? When we see the loss of physical strength as a personal failing, we create immense internal suffering. We judge ourselves. We look in the mirror and see not who we are, but who we are not anymore. This judgment clouds the mind. It creates a state of constant, low-level stress and anxiety. And this mental state has a profound effect on our physical reality. A mind in a state of conflict sends signals of stress throughout the body, hindering recovery, interfering with digestion, and preventing the very regeneration we so desperately seek. We think we are solving a physical problem, but we are actually amplifying it with our mental and emotional state. We are pouring fuel on the fire we are trying to put out. The true work, then, begins not on the plate, but in the mind. It begins with observing our reaction to the word decay. Does it bring fear, resentment, sadness? We must sit with these feelings without judgment. Acknowledge them. They are human. But then we must consciously choose a different path. A path of acceptance, not resignation. Acceptance is not giving up. It is the profound, powerful recognition of what is. From this place of clear seeing, our actions can become intentional rather than reactive. They become acts of wisdom, not acts of fear. And an action born from wisdom has an entirely different quality and a far greater power. So before we even discuss a single type of food, we must first adjust the lens through which we view our own body. This vessel has carried you through every single moment of your life, every joy, every sorrow, every triumph, every challenge. It has done its best with the resources and knowledge you have provided it. It does not deserve to be treated as a failing machine in its later years. It deserves reverence. It deserves gratitude. It deserves a gentle hand. The moment we shift from a mindset of conflict to a mindset of compassionate stewardship, everything begins to change. The body, which can feel our intentions, begins to respond not as a battlefield, but as a garden that is finally receiving the right kind of care. This is the foundation. Without it, any dietary change is merely a superficial tactic, a temporary patch on a much deeper wound. This is the inner work that gives outer actions their true meaning and power. This compassionate stewardship means listening. The body communicates with us constantly, but when we are young and loud, we often do not hear its whispers. In our later years, these whispers can become more pronounced. An energy dip in the afternoon, a feeling of heaviness after a certain meal, a sense of lightness after another. These are not random occurrences, they are pieces of information. They are clues from our own innate intelligence, guiding us toward what we truly need. The conventional path tells us to override these signals with a simple, universal prescription. Eat more, lift more, push harder. The path of wisdom asks us to pause, to listen, and to honor the signals our body is sending us. This is a practice of deep self-respect. The obsession with one particular food source, like eggs, often comes from a desire for a simple answer to a complex reality. We want a hero ingredient, a silver bullet. But the body is not a simple machine. It is an incredibly complex ecosystem, a symphony of countless processes all working in concert. To believe that one single instrument, the egg in this case, can correct the entire symphony is a misunderstanding of this complexity. True vitality comes from harmony, from providing the ecosystem with a wide range of nutrients and energies that allow it to find its own balance. A singular focus, no matter how well-intentioned, can inadvertently create imbalance elsewhere in the system. For instance, an over-reliance on one dense source of protein can sometimes be difficult for a more mature digestive system to process efficiently. The energy with which we approach our nourishment matters just as much as the nourishment itself. If we eat from a place of anxiety, forcing down food we believe we should have, our body receives this food in a state of stress. The digestive system, often called our second brain, is highly sensitive to our emotional state. When we are stressed, blood flow is diverted away from the digestive organs, enzyme production is reduced, and our ability to absorb nutrients is compromised. We could be eating the most perfect food in the world, but if our mind is in turmoil, we will fail to receive its full benefits. We are essentially locking the door while the delivery is being made. This is why the starting point must be a state of calm. The very act of preparing and eating food should become a practice, a moving meditation. It is an opportunity multiple times a day to come back to the present moment, to let go of the fearful stories about the future, and to simply be with the act of nurturing the self. When you eat with this intention, with gratitude for the food and for the body that is about to receive it, you send a powerful signal of safety and care throughout your entire being. This signal is the foundation upon which true, sustainable strength can be built. The body works best when it feels safe. And we are the ones who create this feeling of safety through our thoughts, our emotions, and our intentions. It is a profound responsibility and an even more profound opportunity for self-mastery. Imagine two people. Both are seeking to maintain their strength as they age. The first person follows the path of resistance. They read articles, they count their protein grams, and they eat their eggs every morning with a determined, almost grim resolve. They see their aging body as a problem to be solved, an adversary to be kept at bay. The second person follows the path of harmony. They also understand the importance of nourishment, but their approach is different. They take time to listen to their body. They prepare their food with a quiet sense of gratitude. They eat slowly, mindfully, honoring the process. Which of these two do you believe will achieve a more holistic, lasting sense of well-being? The external actions may seem similar, but the internal quality is worlds apart. The first person is adding more tension to their system. The second is actively cultivating ease. The strength they build is not just physical, it is a strength of spirit, a resilience that comes from being deeply aligned with oneself and with the nature of life. This is the invisible architecture of health. Before we ever change what is on our plate, we must commit to building this internal architecture of peace and acceptance. This is the ground from which all true strength grows. Without this fertile ground, even the most powerful seeds of nourishment will struggle to take root and flourish. This understanding is the first and most crucial step. Mindful nourishment. Once we have cultivated this inner state of peaceful intention, we can then turn our attention to the physical substance of our nourishment. The question is no longer, what can I use to fight decay, but rather, what will harmonize with my body and support its innate wisdom? When we ask this different question, we arrive at a different answer. We move away from the mindset of concentrated, forceful energy and towards an appreciation for something more gentle, more transformative, and in many ways, more profound. The answer lies not in the output of an animal, but in the quiet, humble power of the earth, specifically in the potential held within the bean and its transformation. We are speaking of fermented plant proteins, most notably embodied in ancient foods like tofu and tempeh. Now, this may seem surprising. In our modern culture, these foods are often seen as alternatives, as secondary choices. The egg is presented as the primary, the original, the standard. But this is a very new and culturally specific point of view. For centuries, in traditions that have a very deep and sophisticated understanding of health and longevity, foods derived from the humble soybean have been a cornerstone of a strong and vital life, especially in the later years. Why is this? The secret is not just in the bean itself, but in the process it undergoes, the process of fermentation, of transformation. It is a process that mirrors the very alchemy we are trying to achieve within ourselves. Let's look at this more closely. A raw soybean, in its natural state, contains compounds that can be difficult for the human body to digest. It is potent, but its gifts are locked away. Fermentation, a process guided by beneficial microorganisms, is the key that unlocks this potential. It predigests the bean, breaking down these complex compounds into simpler, more available forms. The protein becomes easier to assimilate. The vitamins and minerals become more bioavailable. It is an act of benevolent transformation, turning something that is hard into something that is soft, turning something that is locked into something that is open and giving. This is a profound metaphor for how we should approach our own bodies as we age. Instead of trying to bombard a potentially more sensitive digestive system with a highly concentrated, dense food that requires immense energy to break down, we are offering it a substance that has already been prepared with care. It is a gesture of kindness to our internal organs. It says, I will not burden you. I will offer you something that you can receive with ease. This is a crucial distinction. For a senior body whose digestive fire may not be as powerful as it once was, providing easily assimilated nutrients is a cornerstone of building and maintaining strength. If the body has to expend enormous energy on digestion, that is energy that cannot be used for muscle repair, cellular regeneration, and overall vitality. Consider the energetic quality of this food. It is born of the earth. It is transformed by a slow, natural process. It carries an energy of quiet, resilient strength, not the forceful, aggressive energy we often associate with muscle building. This resonates with the state of harmony we are trying to cultivate. When we eat, we are not just consuming macronutrients, we are taking the energy of that food into our own being. By choosing foods that embody the qualities of gentle transformation and easy assimilation, we are inviting those same qualities into our own physical and energetic systems. It becomes less about building muscle as if it were a brick wall, and more about cultivating vitality as if it were a garden. The practical benefits are, of course, immense and supported by modern understanding. A food like tempeh, for instance, is a complete protein containing all the essential amino acids our body needs to repair and build tissue. Its fermented nature also makes it rich in probiotics, which support a healthy gut microbiome. A healthy gut is the foundation of a strong immune system, clear mental function, and efficient nutrient absorption. So you are not just providing the building blocks for muscle, you are also strengthening the very foundation of your body's entire operational system. It is a holistic approach where one single act of nourishment sends ripples of benefit throughout the entire ecosystem of the body. This is fundamentally different from the isolated focus on a single metric, like protein content. An egg provides protein, this is true. But the story of its impact does not end there. For some individuals, especially as they age, it can be a heavier food, contributing to a sense of sluggishness or placing a strain on the digestive system. The path of mindful nourishment invites us to look beyond the numbers on a label and to listen to the felt experience in our own body. How do you feel 1 hour after eating? How is your energy in the afternoon? The body provides the most accurate feedback, if only we are willing to listen to it with sensitivity. The practice then is to begin introducing these transformed, fermented plant foods into our diet, not as a replacement driven by dogma, but as an experiment driven by curiosity and self-respect. Prepare it simply. Perhaps it is crumbled tempeh, lightly sautéed with vegetables. Perhaps it is soft tofu, blended into a soup to make it creamy and rich. As you prepare it, notice its texture, its smell. As you eat it, do so slowly. Notice how it feels in your body. This is no longer just eating. This is a practice of interoception, the sensing of the internal state of the body. This practice in itself is a form of mastery. It is reclaiming the skill of listening to your own being. When we approach nourishment in this way, the food itself becomes a teacher. The humble block of tofu becomes a lesson in gentleness. The textured, earthy tempeh becomes a lesson in profound transformation. It reminds us that true strength does not have to be loud, aggressive, or forceful. It can be quiet, resilient, and deeply cooperative. It is the strength of bamboo which bends in the wind but does not break. This is a far more sustainable and graceful model for strength in our later years than the model of the rigid oak, which resists the wind until it is shattered by it. This shift in perspective frees us from the anxiety of numbers. It frees us from the feeling that we are in a constant battle. Instead, we enter into a cooperative partnership with our body. We become a wise gardener, understanding the soil, knowing when to water, when to protect from the harsh sun, and what kind of nourishment will lead to the most vibrant growth. The food we choose is an expression of this wisdom. It is a physical manifestation of our intention to work with our nature, not against it. It is an act of profound love for the self, a commitment to aging not with resistance, but with grace, wisdom, and a quiet, unshakable inner strength. The beautiful truth is that the body wants to be well. It has an innate intelligence that is always striving for balance and health. Our job is not to force it into submission with overwhelming inputs, but to clear the obstacles and provide it with the gentle, easily usable resources it needs to do its own work. Fermented plant proteins are one of the most powerful ways to do this. They are, in essence, a helping hand, a pre-prepared gift that honors the body's changing needs. They allow the body to dedicate its precious energy reserves to the vital work of repair and regeneration, which is the very essence of fighting muscle loss from a place of deep cellular intelligence. This is a quiet revolution. It takes place not in a gym, but in our own kitchen. It is not about a new expensive supplement, but about rediscovering the wisdom of ancient, humble foods. It is a path that is accessible to everyone. It requires not great wealth or power, but a simple shift in mindset. It is the understanding that the most profound way to care for the body in its later years is through acts of gentleness, cooperation, and mindful attention. When you eat a meal built upon these principles, you are nourishing far more than just your muscles. You are nourishing a new relationship with yourself, one built on trust, respect, and a deep appreciation for the journey of a lifetime. It was never about the eggs, and it was never even truly about the tofu. It was about the mindset behind the choice. It was about the story we tell ourselves about aging, strength, and the nature of our own body. The greatest power to fight the frailty of age is not found in a food, but in an understanding. It is the understanding that you can replace fear with wisdom and reaction with intention. You can cease the war against your body and instead become its greatest ally, its most compassionate steward. The food is merely a tool, a symbol of this deeper commitment. The real nourishment is the peace that comes from this new relationship, a peace that allows your body to do what it has always known how to do, to heal, to regenerate, and to carry you forward with a quiet, resilient, and enduring strength. For years, I fought against getting older, forcing down protein shakes and foods I thought I had to eat. My body felt heavy and my spirit felt tired. After listening to this, I shifted my focus from fighting to listening. I started incorporating simple, mindful meals like you described. It wasn't just my physical strength that returned in a surprising way, but my energy, my clarity. It's like I gave my body permission to be well. I feel lighter and stronger at 68 than I did at 58. Thank you for this wisdom. It was never about the food. It was about the peace behind it.